There is a stretch of water that separates mainland Australia from its island state, Tasmania. It is called the Bass Strait. For sailors, it has a reputation. It is known for its wild winds and unpredictable seas. It is a place that demands respect. For years, I had looked at it on maps, a relatively small gap between two landmasses. But its size is deceptive. This waterway is a true test of a sailor's skill and nerve. The idea of crossing it had taken root in my mind, a challenge that I couldn't ignore. It was more than just a trip. It was a pilgrimage to a wilder place. The thought of the journey was both exciting and daunting. I imagined the feeling of the open ocean, the salt spray on my face, and the vast, unbroken horizon. This was not a trip to be taken lightly. It required careful planning and a deep understanding of the sea. I spoke to old sailors who had made the crossing. They shared stories of incredible beauty and of frightening storms. Their tales painted a picture of a place that could be serene one moment and ferocious the next. My desire to sail to Tasmania was about more than just the challenge. It was about connecting with nature in its rawest form. I wanted to see the albatrosses soaring on the wind and dolphins playing in our bow wave. In our modern world, it is easy to become disconnected from these simple, powerful experiences. This voyage was a chance to disconnect from the noise of daily life and reconnect with something more fundamental, something real. The final decision was made on a cool evening in Melbourne. I was looking out over the city lights, but my mind was on the dark waters to the south. It was time to stop dreaming and start doing. The adventure was no longer a distant idea, it was becoming a concrete plan. I was ready to answer the call of the Southern Ocean and see what lessons it had in store for me. Every great sea voyage begins with a great boat. Our vessel for this adventure was a sturdy 40-foot sailing yacht named the Wanderer. She wasn't a sleek, modern racing machine. Instead, she was a classic, reliable cruiser, built to handle rough seas with grace. Her hull was thick, her mast was strong, and her deck was clear and practical. Preparing the boat was a meticulous process. We checked every piece of equipment, from the engine to the navigation lights. Safety was our top priority. We also had to think about food and water. We planned our meals carefully, opting for simple, high-energy foods that would be easy to prepare even if the sea was rough. The final 24 hours before setting sail are a unique blend of nervous energy and focused activity. The weather forecast had given us a window. This was our chance. My last evening on land was spent in quiet contemplation. I walked along the St Kilda foreshore, watching the last light of day fade over Port Phillip Bay. I thought about the sailors of the past who had made this same journey in wooden ships with nothing but the stars to guide them. Their courage was inspiring. Back on the Wanderer, I did one final check of everything. Below deck, I stowed the last few loose items. I made a flask of hot tea, a small creature comfort for the long night ahead. Lying in my bunk that night, I found it hard to sleep. I could hear the gentle lapping of the water against the hull and the distant sounds of the city. Soon, the only sounds would be the wind in the sails and the rush of the sea. The first light of dawn was just beginning to touch the sky. It painted the clouds in shades of soft pink and grey. This was it. The moment had arrived. My crewmate, an experienced sailor named John, gave me a knowing nod. We moved with quiet efficiency. John started the engine, its low, steady rumble breaking the morning silence. One by one, we untied the thick ropes that secured the Wanderer to the dock. With a final shove off the pontoon, we were moving. The journey down the river was a transition, a slow goodbye to the city. We passed under the iconic Bolte Bridge, its twin spires reaching up into the pale sky. As we neared the mouth of the river, the landscape began to change. Giant cranes stood like silent, sleeping dinosaurs against the sky. We were just a tiny speck in this world of maritime giants. Leaving the confines of the Yarra River and entering Port Phillip Bay felt like stepping out of a small room into a giant hall. The sense of space was immediate and immense. It was time to raise the sails. With practiced movements, we hoisted the mainsail. John cut the engine, and a wonderful silence descended upon us. This is the magic of sailing. We set our course south, aiming for the narrow exit to the Bass Strait. The journey would take several hours. As we sailed south, the feeling of isolation grew, but I knew this peace was temporary. At the southern end of the bay lay the Heads, one of the most notoriously dangerous sea passages in Australia. Our first real test was still to come. The entrance to Port Phillip Bay, known simply as the Heads, is a place that commands a sailor's utmost respect. This creates incredibly strong tidal streams and a chaotic sea state known as a rip. Getting it wrong can be disastrous. As we approached, the calm waters of the bay began to change. You could feel the immense power of the water beneath the hull. It was an unsettling feeling. Passing through the channel felt like navigating a wild river. On our right, the Point Lonsdale Lighthouse stood as a stoic guardian. On our left, the cliffs of Point Nepean looked rugged and unforgiving. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. We were through. Before us lay the open, rolling swells of the Bass Strait. The great adventure had truly begun. The Bass Strait is famous for its changeable moods. By mid-afternoon, the sky to the west began to change. The strait was showing us its other face. Before the wind grew too strong, we decided to reef the mainsail. Working on the deck as the boat pitched and rolled required concentration and care. One mistake out here could be fatal. The waves grew larger and the troughs between them became deeper. Then the boat would rise up again, climbing the face of the next wave to reveal the wild, wind-swept seascape once more. Just when the grey, tumultuous world of the sea and sky felt utterly empty, we received our first visitor. A solitary albatross appeared. A little while later, a pod of dolphins appeared, leaping and playing in the waves. As I scanned the horizon, I saw a distant plume of spray shoot up into the air. It was a whale. These encounters with wildlife were precious moments of connection. As day turned into a long, dark night, the challenge of the crossing entered a new phase. You can't see the waves coming. You can only feel them as they lift and slam against the hull. To manage the fatigue, John and I settled into a strict watch system. 3 hours on, 3 hours off. Sleep wasn't really sleep. It was more like a series of brief, disconnected dozes. Once I took the helm, a sense of purpose took over. My job was simple: keep the boat safe and on course. I was the guardian of our small world. The third day at sea brought no relief. The wind continued its assault. The sea was a relentless opponent, giving no quarter and no moment of rest. In the middle of the wild sea, our navigation equipment became our lifeline to the rational world. But in the disorienting chaos of the storm, my mind began to play tricks on me. We had paper charts as a backup. Seeing the names of vessels lost to these waters was a sobering reminder of the stakes. We had to remain vigilant to avoid becoming another ghost on the chart. The electronic depth sounder was another critical tool. We were passing over a huge, unseen mountain rising from the sea floor. We were sailing on the skin of a hidden world. In the harsh reality of the Bass Strait, teamwork was not just an advantage, it was essential for survival. The shared hardship forged a bond between us that was stronger than any rope on the boat. After what felt like an eternity of darkness, the first hint of morning began to appear on the eastern horizon. This small glimmer of light was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen. As the light grew, it began to reveal the true scale of the sea around us. The rising sun also brought a slight change in the weather. With the improved conditions, I went below to try and make some hot porridge. It was fuel for our tired bodies and a boost for our weary spirits. Then I saw it. At first, I thought it was just another bank of low, dark cloud. But unlike the clouds, this shape did not move or change. I grabbed the binoculars. Through the lenses, the smudge resolved into the unmistakable silhouette of mountains. It was land. It was Tasmania. I called out to John, my voice thick with emotion. "Land ho!" We had done it. We had crossed the Bass Strait. As we sailed closer, the faint, distant smudge of Tasmania grew into a detailed and spectacular coastline. It was a powerful and dramatic welcome after the featureless expanse of the strait. Waterfalls cascaded directly into the ocean. We were also greeted by a colony of fur seals. It felt as though the island was revealing its treasures to us. As we drew nearer to the mouth of the Mersey River, the conditions became remarkably calm. It was as if the island had decided we had faced enough challenges. We lowered our sails for the final time on this leg of the journey. We motored slowly towards the river entrance, passing between two breakwaters that acted as a gateway to the port. The transition from the wildness of the coast to the calm order of the river was striking. It felt strange to be so close to civilization again. I stepped off the boat and onto solid ground. The land didn't move. We had made it. We stood on the dock for a long time, looking back at our sturdy little boat, our home and our saviour. The first night tied to the dock in Devonport was one of the strangest experiences. After days of constant, violent motion, the absolute stillness of the boat felt unnatural. We spent the morning performing the simple, satisfying tasks of tidying the boat. The Wanderer had carried us safely through the ordeal, and it felt good to care for her. That afternoon, John and I took a walk into the town of Devonport. It was our secret, a shared experience that had changed us in ways we were only just beginning to understand. In the quiet days that followed, my mind kept returning to the crossing. I realised that the journey's value was not in the moments of ease, but in the moments of difficulty. I also found myself reflecting on the moments of unexpected beauty amidst the chaos. These moments were made all the more precious by the hardship that surrounded them. The greatest lesson the voyage taught me was about simplicity. This journey reinforced the importance of trust. At sea, you live by a different clock. Ultimately, the journey from Melbourne to Tasmania was about connection. It was about connecting with the raw power of nature and connecting with my own inner reserves of strength and resilience. It was the beginning of a new way of seeing the world, with a deeper appreciation for its wild beauty and for the simple, profound lessons it has to teach.